I'm Glenn Cochran. Session 4 will focus on the essentials of assessment and how they can inform curriculum and instruction. K-5 students, by the nature of their variation over these two grade bands, K2 and 3-5, make it difficult to standardize assessment expectations. How assessment looks from kindergarten through grade 5 will be different. However, for all New York State P12 Science Learning Standards, or NYSSLS, assessments we want to consider students demonstrating their ability to use the science engineering practices, view the scenario through a cross-cutting concept, and learn the content at the level described in the standards. This session will introduce the performance level descriptors, a tool released for guidance by the New York State Education Department, describe a system of assessments, consider the purpose of assessment, and review a couple of assessments using the screening tool. Please download the one-stop agenda at the bit.ly link and download session materials. New York learning standards inform student learning for instruction, curriculum, and assessment. These two items from Rhode Island Department of Education says it well. Assessment is the ongoing process of gathering information about a student's learning, what the student knows, understands, and can do with their knowledge and skills. Information from assessment is used to make decisions about instructional approaches, teaching materials, and academic support needed to enhance opportunities for the student and to guide future instruction. You probably know 2022 will be the last year of the grade 4 state science assessment. In 2024, grade 5 students will be assessed with a NYSSLS-based grade 5 state exam. That exam will be based on what students can do and know in grades 3 to 5. This is also a plan to drop the performance component of the grade 4 science exam and replace that with classroom performance assessments that will be embedded during the school year. For guidance in the transition to NYSSLS, New York State Education Department has provided performance level descriptors, or PLDs, for grades 3 to 5. They can be downloaded from the NYSSED Office of Assessment website or from the link in the agenda. Elementary teachers know state assessments aren't the gold standard for all we want students in K-5 to know and do, but the PLDs will help keep your eye on the NYSSLS expectations. The PLDs can be used to review your curriculum materials and instruction to determine if students are being given the opportunity to learn at a proficient level. The PLDs will be used when designing state assessments, and teachers can use them to determine current performance level of a student. Knowing that, teachers can scaffold learning opportunities to move students to higher levels of proficiency. The PLDs aren't the science standards. When digging into the components of student learning, the NYSSLS pages are more informative. They provide details of the 3 dimensions as well as clarification. If you're using NGSS materials, resources, be aware NYSSLS is similar, but there are important differences. New York State Level 3 is the NYSSLS standard, or the student is proficient at that grade level for level 3. Levels 1 and 2 indicate the students are partially or below proficient. Level 4 students excel above the NYSSLS standard. Assessment, evaluation is about measuring and making judgment about student performance. But are measuring things that don't matter. Not everything that matters is measurable. Why do we assess students? It's not just about making a score, grade, or level of proficiency. Assessment for learning improves the instruction. Assessment as learning is a tool that enhances curriculum and student self-reflection. Assessment of learning gives teachers evidence to make judgments and grades. The graphic shows the new model of assessment systems and the more significant role of formative assessment. Rethink the importance of different assessments. This graphic has the day-to-day formative feedback teachers get from their students doing the most to support student learning. Performance-based 3D tasks have multiple purposes, and the end of unit and state assessments are used for scores and making judgments. You can download this article from WestEd, Designing a Comprehensive Assessment System, from the One-Stop Agenda for more on the system of assessments. Schools have a diversity of logarithms to evaluate student progress. However, assessment isn't just about grades. It includes formal and informal evidence that drives instruction and student learning. 3D performance tasks should align with 3D expectations of the standards. They usually include a phenomenon, problem, or scenario. Various artifacts give the data, images, videos for students to use when responding to prompts that combine the 3 dimensions. Screeners can be used to see how closely assessments align with the 3D. This one from Paul Anderson was downloaded from the Wonder of Science website. It gives a checklist of no, partially, or yes, that particular item is present in the assessment. The Achieve pre-screener is the one we will use to review some sample items. If an item scores a red flag, it indicates it doesn't align with the 3D for the standards. It must be reassessed. Please download a copy of this screener from the agenda and the 2 samples of assessments. These are 4 items from the grade 4 2019 New York State exam. Individually or in a group, read through the assessment and use the pre-screener to review it for 3D. Stop the video. This is my take on the items from that grade 4 exam. There was no phenomenon. There was no scenario. Most of it could be answered by rote knowledge. The majority of the task did not use reasoning. That some of the DCIs were part of it. There was content in there. The students used at least one science engineering practice to complete the task. Not really. They were looking at a chart, but they were not really analyzing and interpreting data. And there really wasn't an assessment of the dimensions, and coherent and comprehensible from the student perspective. Yes, I would say so. The next performance task aligns with 5-LS1-1. Support an argument that plants get the materials they need chiefly from air and water, not soil. Looking at the PLD, you will notice a major difference in level is the science practice. Of course, level 3 is the proficiency level for grade level. And if you look at the others, level 1 uses evidence to identify the argument. Level 2 identifies the evidence in given information that supports an argument. And then level 4 has even a higher level of expectation by planning and conducting an investigation to gather the data, although that seems to be a little bit challenging to do that on a paper and pencil assessment. Okay, please make sure you've downloaded the Where Do Trees Get Their Mass? Individually or in a group, take the assessment and score it using the pre-screener. Stop the video. If you look at this assessment, then I know you just did it, you'll see that there are a few claims that they make to start. Then there is an investigation that they've performed. And in each one of the trials, 1, 2, 3, and 4, they give some starting and final weight of the plants that are grown in these bio bottles, and a little graphic to demonstrate what they're seeing in terms of the starting and the final weights. So we have the trial from the data from the 4 trials. Number 3, they're asking the students to identify the patterns they're seeing and be sure to use the data from the tables to support their answer. And then comes the last question, which is a CER, a claim, evidence, and reasoning. And this is where they get their argumentation. So they're going to make a claim based on the evidence, and then their reasoning for the story of where plants get their mass. Here is my take on the items using the pre-screener. There was a story or a phenomenon about plants gaining mass. They could not answer the question without having the data, so they needed that from the test scenario. There is some rote knowledge, I would suspect, based on the stuff that they have done during their instruction, but the actual assessment was not just based on rote knowledge. They were using reasoning in their CER. It was testing for the DCIs. They were doing the arguing from evidence based on the data. And dimensions were assessed separately, not really. It was all blended together and it was coherent and accessible. So here are my takeaways from the assessment on assessment using the NYSSLS expectations. One is that assessment is a tool to inform students and teachers, not just about grades. Standards-based assessments can use both the NYSSLS and the PLDs to inform instruction. Instruction, curriculum, and assessments should all align. The goal is for students to make sense of the natural world and the phenomena and solving problems. Summative assessments should be different, but similar to what they do with curriculum and instruction. And don't overlook the 3 Ds in the assessment. Don't overlook them. They should all be there and evident. So I thank you for participating and enjoy transitioning and implementing the NYSSLS.